Welcome back to Narrator's Cut. This movie is called Happy Death Day, where a college student is forced to repeat the day of her murder over and over again, trapped in a loop that will only be broken once she finds her killer and how she was killed. Spoilers ahead! It's 9 o'clock at college. Tree wakes up in a dorm room that isn't hers. Carter turns to greet her when her phone rings with a happy birthday song. She asks where her clothes are and stands up to put them on. Carter runs to get Tylenol for Tree. He gives her the tablets when she dresses, but she tells him not to discuss their encounter. Just as she is ready to leave, Carter's friend asks him whether he slept with her. Tree is entirely repulsed by both of them. The sprinklers turn on, frightening away a loving couple. An alarm goes off in the background and a frat dude tortures a few boys, one of whom collapses as she passes. Tim, who she assumes is her stalker, and has only met once, suddenly confronts her. She sneers at him and goes away. A young girl welcomes her to her sorority home. Daniel promptly apprehends Tree, reminding her of the house meeting set for lunch. Laurie greets her as she enters her room and exits her bed. Tree looks at her phone and realizes she's late for class. She springs from bed, rushing to dress and collect her library books. Laurie gives her a birthday cupcake and informs her she can't keep her birthday a secret any longer. Tree blows out the candle and throws the cupcake in the trash as she leaves. Laurie is upset right now. Tree enters a stressful class given by a lecturer she dislikes. The next day, she spends lunch with her sorority sisters, and one of them, Becky, serves her a high-carb meal. They order her to leave, but Carter comes in and spills a chocolate shake all over Tree. She takes him aside, not wanting her sorority members to know she knows him. He returns the jewelry she left in his room the night before. She later visits a hospital and ignores her father's phone calls before visiting Laurie. She knows why Tree is there, and tells her that she is about to do might be disastrous. Tree enters an office and the professor opens the door. She starts kissing him, but his wife knocks on the door. She's in her room when Daniel enters, still in her shirt. During a power outage, they talk about the party later that night. Tree hears her father's message as she walks through a gang of jocks to the party. As she enters a terrifying tunnel, she hears a music box play Happy Birthday. Tree senses someone behind her despite her suspicions. Someone with a college mascot mask is staring at her but not communicating. He vanishes. He emerges from the underpass with a knife and starts pursuing her along the streets. Tree stumbles and falls. He strangles her to death. Tree wakes up in the same dorm room. Things resume their previous course. She gets dressed while Carter chats, and she begs for Tylenol, even telling him where he keeps it. He says she seemed to be there before. When Carter's friend enters, Tree is puzzled. She exits the building, passing the petition girl, the sprinklers, the vehicle alarm, and the frat boys. When she sees Tim for the second time, she asks what day it is. It's the 18th of November. Tree recognizes Danielle from the sorority meal she attended earlier in the day. Laurie greets her the same way she did before. Tree is feeling odd, but she is late for class and runs to catch up. Laurie gives her the cupcake, but she runs out the door, puzzled. During lunch, she had the same experience as Becky. Strangely, they keep bumping into each other despite Tree's cautions. She tells him she still wants the bracelet as he walks away. But he kisses her, and his wife enters and knocks on the door before she can say anything. Daniel enters the room as she and her mother are watching a birthday video. The blackness scares Tree. She takes the same road to the underpass, but she detours when she hears the music box to avoid being late. When the Tree returns home, it is empty. She bangs on the closed door. When the lights come on for her birthday surprise, she hits a mascot who unlocks the door. Nick was the masked man. Later, Nick approaches Daniel and Tree and begins flirting with her, much to Daniel's chagrin. Regardless, she follows him to his room. When she enters the room, it is empty. Nick reappears and she removes his mask. She checks herself in the mirror for flaws. He then blasts loud music and dances wildly, which annoys Tree. She is messaging Daniel when a guy in mask arrives and kills Nick. Tree can't hear anything above the music, so she turns around thinking the man is Nick. I'm sure she'll like it. A frat dude walks in and doesn't appear to realize what's going on. He stabs her. Carter is terrified as Tree cries in her dorm room, In the end, it's Tim and his pals that save the day. Her welcome is the same when she enters the room and sits beside Laurie's bed. Tree tries to convey to Laurie that she has relived the same day twice. Her examples are the cupcake and the surprise party. Laurie, on the other hand, doubts her story. Tree worries that someone may kill her that night, terrifying Laurie. But she tells her to relax because her mother's sickness has made her day difficult. Tree later strengthens her windows and places a drawer in front of the entrance. When Daniel knocks on the door, she finds a power outage and a photograph of herself and her mother. Tree is ready to eat a cupcake when she discovers she has lost her remote. She finds a birthday card and the TV switches off, and then on, showing the news, then off again. When she unlocks the closet, she finds no one there to call her answer. After inspecting the bathroom, she checks behind the shower curtain, but the TV comes on again. He emerges behind her and kills her after a short struggle, his hands behind his back. Tree screams and flees out of Carter's dorm room, waking him up. She panics and escapes. Everything remains the same: goth, petition girl, sprinklers, car alarm, frat bros, etc. Carter appears behind her and returns her possessions, calming her down. She hugs him and begs him for help. Then, they're at the campus cantina, and Carter is still trying to make sense of things. He calls her on her birthday when her phone rings. He tells her that whoever is trying to kill her knows it's her birthday, and he starts making a list of possible suspects. He also tells her they didn't sleep together that night before. After a while, they return to her killer, and he tells her she has an eternity to find out who killed her. That night, Tree develops a list of suspects, Tim at the top. She peeks through his window and realizes he's gay. In the back, when Tree turns around, Tree wakes up in Carter's dorm room and throws her phone in the trash. In the next scene, she is shown coloring and cutting her hair before adding the professor's wife to her list. She stalks her from the bushes, but the masked man pushes her down and kills her. She wakes up. Daniel is the next name on her list and she follows her. They can be heard conversing and arguing when a bus hits them. She wakes up outraged. The professor replaces Daniel on the list. Tree walks out of her dorm room naked, and everyone stares at her. With a baseball bat, she later attacks her assailant, knocking Becky out. The masked guy approaches her and hits her with a baseball bat. She wakes up at Carter's dorm, telling him his plan failed. As Carter's buddy opens the door, she collapses into his arm and passes out. Later, she is in the hospital and Carter sneaks into her room. He tells her the power outage is scheduled for Monday, August 18th. As if by magic, the professor appears beside Carter. He tells him he must leave. The professor, who is also her doctor, shows her an x-ray of her lungs. Her body is covered in sores, and she should be dead by now. Tree wants to go, but he compromises her. She is safe with him. She asks for a Coke as he leaves the room, and she is gone when he returns. Tree races through the hospital and into the professor's office, looking for his car keys. She suspects him, so she warily walks around the hospital until the masked assassin stabs him. He chases her to the parking lot. Tree hides from him there, but he hears her and pursues her as she opens the professor's car. She is relieved to get free of him until she spots a police car approaching and signals her to stop. When a cop comes to her car, she tries to explain, but she knows that if the cop suspects her of being under the influence of any illegal substance, she will be arrested and sent to jail. So she lies to him, and he charges her. He successfully gets her to his police car, but is then struck by another vehicle. The masked guy exits the other vehicle and approaches the patrol car. Tree mocks him briefly before he walks away and returns to his car. He blows up a window and starts the gasoline trail leading to the police car. Tree reawakens in her dorm, takes her Tylenol, unlocks the door for Carter's buddy, and dismisses him. Carter asks her why she screamed in her sleep as she gets dressed. He follows her out, curious about her past. She tells him about the sprinklers, the car alarm, and the frat member who fainted. They may be later spotted in a diner. She burps and farts, hoping he won't notice. He asks her why she doesn't answer the phone when her father calls. Her mother died 3 years ago, and they were born on the same day. Tree believes that if her mother were still alive, she would be ashamed of her since she is a nasty person. Despite his assurances that her current situation will help her develop and become a better person, she believes that she has just a few days left before she is weakening with each hospital visit. Tree's attention is drawn to the news. There was a report about a serial killer being hospitalized. She thinks he's her serial killer. When she visits him at the hospital, she informs the nurse that he is trying to flee. She calls the cops. When she sees no cops outside his door, she takes an axe and enters. The masked man's presence diverts her attention. When the masked man fires at her, she notices the guard is dead. Tree flees, but he murders the nurse and pursues her. The serial killer emerges from his disguise when he finally catches up with her. Carter rushes in front of him as he fires his gun. Tree tries to shoot Carter, but the serial killer smashes his neck. But the pistol jams and the assassin shoots Carter. He chases Tree again, and they reach the bell tower. Carter will be dead for the rest of his life if she murders him and does not reset the day. So she drops the crowbar and resumes her sprint. The attacker chases her, but she kills herself. It's 9 o'clock at college. Tree wakes up in Carter's chamber and thanks to him for saving her life. She grabs his pillow, spanks his friend for being a chauvinist, and smiles as she leaves. A goth snatches his spectacles, signs the petition, tells a few sprinkles, and drops a cushion before the frat boy collapses in front of her. Tim is relieved to encounter Tree, who encourages him to join them. She recognizes the young girl in front of her sorority house and enters. Daniel approaches her and tells her where Carter is, which stuns her. When she returns home, she apologizes to Laurie for being selfish. Then she goes to class and summons the professor. Tree breaks their connection and withdraws from class. Tree is gone for the sorority dinner, so Becky must eat her bad lunch in her stead. Then Tree comes in and shoves a tray of junk food in her face while she tries to concentrate. Tree walks over to Becky and dumps the chocolate shake over her head and shoulders. Carter surprises her with the jewelry, and she kisses him before asking him out, he affirms. She later comes to the restaurant where her father has been waiting to celebrate her birthday. Tree asks them to be more honest and talk about her mother's death because she wants to stop ignoring it. She regrets harming him in this way. She prepares for her encounter with her assailant that night. She enters the hospital and takes the guard's weapon. She tells the guard to call for help since the serial killer is ready to flee. Tree approaches the sleeping prisoner, bound, and orders him to open his eyes, which he does grudgingly. Her gun's safety is locked. He slaps her with his pillow, then grabs her and takes her knife. He is the strongest of the two. He approaches her with a knife, but her watch alarm goes off. She's directly behind him, carrying the revolver. Tree kills her attacker in one shot. She blows out the candle on her birthday cupcake while she and Carter talks about the night. She wishes for tomorrow before extinguishing the candle. It's 9 o'clock at college. Tree wakes up in Carter's room. It's the same day. She panics and escapes. She rushes into her room and starts packing. Laurie stands up and comes over to hand Tree the cupcake. That she woke up the same day because she died in her dream and is now awake. Tree thinks Laurie killed her by poisoning the cupcake. Because Tree refused to eat the cupcake, Laurie utilized the serial killer's presence to murder her. Laurie always killed her. Tree threatens her with reporting if she doesn't eat the cupcake and prove it wasn't her. Laurie slams the door and tosses her down. She claims she intended to kill her because she was in love with the professor. There's a lot of fighting around the room, and Laurie almost kills Tree when she becomes distracted long enough for Tree to eat the cupcake, and then throw her out the window into the path of another sorority house member. Tree and Carter are watching the news in the restaurant when her father calls. She answers to reassure him. Carter informs her about the movie Groundhog Day, which she hasn't watched. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed, and please leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel for more exciting movies to recap. Take care.